On the province's west coast, the big issue facing many in the Bay St. George region in particular has been the whole issue of fracking. Not a more polarizing issue has faced the province in quite a long time. Muskrat Falls included. All right, so now the government, after their internal review was deemed inconclusive, the next logical step, whether it be just another waste of time, maybe not. I mean, it's an important issue to get right. Based on science, based on all the environmental sensitivities, based on the unique nature of the rock and the watershed on the west coast, we have to do it right. I get it. So we're going to have an external review. This may indeed be welcomed by the anti-fracking groups who have called for this for quite a long time. It should have been the first order of business, in my opinion, anyway. The internal review, no one was going to have any faith in it. Now, people may not put any stock in an external review if it doesn't say if they want it to say, but here we go down this road again. For my money, fracking's going to happen on the province's west coast. It is. The only political party that says they have a long-term moratorium as part of their political ploy or strategy would be the NDP. And unfortunately for the NDP, they're not really in a position to hold many seats and or to actually have an honest run at holding a seat of government. So here we go, an external review. Fine. I don't think it matters. I just don't think it does. I think we know enough about fracking to make a decision now, but we don't do it for the same reason we don't do a lot of things that require political courage. If at this point the government and enough people in the informed world think fracking is right or wrong, then make the damn decision. You know, this might be another wheel spinner, and people can welcome it all they want, but we're going to frack on the west coast. If these were major players, major oil and gas players, then we'd stop talking about it because they would have abandoned it anyway, considering that the boat had already sailed. Because of the market, because of the cost, but because it's junior players and they desperately need their land leases to pay off in the end, they will continue to chase this. Consequently, the government has no choice but to, at some point, do these reviews and at some point, make no mistake, go ahead and give the go-ahead to fracking on the province's west coast. What do you think? Let's go. On that front, odd commentary coming from Premier Marshall and the concept of fracking and whether or not that represents the entrepreneurial spirit that he hoped would come from places like Grenfell. Excuse me. Grenfell now with the academics and, I know it's not this type of campus, but scientists in the specific fields. Academics whose role should not be to get behind a provincial government with a business case or to exhibit entrepreneurial spirit because that's what the provincial government thinks they should be doing and the ideology they should display. Their role in their walk of life is not to get behind the government. It's to ask the important questions, to be given the autonomy to do so, to not be punished because they differ with the government, whether it be provincially or federally, to still be allowed to have the funding to further their work because it's important. So when the Premier talks about some sort of disappointment with the academics because they don't support the concepts of creating jobs and wealth, it's not really their role in life. And nor is it the role in life for government to question them out loud. Same thing with Harper and his apparent dismissal of scientists and their thirst for knowledge, their wonder why, their out loud questioning, sometimes their condemnation of government policy. Because not every job created is necessary if it has an adverse effect that outweighs it. Of course that's true. So I thought there were curious comments from the Premier on that front. Same thing with the Nalcor issue. You know, Nalcor is the Crown Corp. This could have been business done by the private sector, but the government chose to have a well-funded public entity, Nalcor, be the company that pursues our energy wants and needs and hopeful royalties and revenues and taxes. Okay, fine. So when people, when the Premier says things like, if he doesn't understand the cynicism or criticism of Nalcor, because if and when that company does well, then we all share in the reward. But it's painfully clear that the opposite is also true. When and if Nalcor stumbles or fails, when and if Nalcor invests in something that doesn't have the desired outcome, then we all suffer. So as much as the PCs, I think, have absolutely butchered the concept of Nalcor because they've treated it like a political arm as opposed to a Crown corporation, he shouldn't always just be in lockstep with Nalcor because he created it. If and when we need oversight and or criticism and or hard, heavy-handed maneuvers aimed at Nalcor, that should be the provincial government's role, not every single step of the way defending them, because not everything everyone does is right and or just. So I think the PCs have really harmed Nalcor more than Nalcor could have ever harmed themselves. So when they succeed, we succeed. If they fail, we all fail. So it's just another funny way that the provincial government looks at energy, in my own opinion.